We're about to go into a marina for, I don't know, better part of 2 weeks, and the marina in there is not very clean. It's time to clean the hulls. So whilst we're at anchor here, the water's hopefully a bit clearer, but anyway, I'll still use my earplugs and a snorkel. Alyssa's just going to sunbake.
We've been in the anchorage at Las Palmas now for 4 nights, waiting for the marina to be free for us to move in. What happens today is the Ark is leaving. So the Ark is the Atlantic Rally for cruises. It's a big boating rally with boats that cross to the Atlantic. There's around 200 boats that leave today, so we're going to go have a look at that. Should be pretty cool.
Today, 250 odd boats left to cross the Atlantic, and we're just waiting in the queue to get into the marina. So there's an awful lot of traffic on Channel 11. We're just waiting for them to call our name and we will go into a marina berth.
We finally made it into the marina after a couple of hours of waiting out in the anchorage. It was a bit of an interesting process of them moving everyone in. Terry arrives today. The only challenge is Terry's luggage has gone missing. So obviously with all his clothes, it's also got a lot of items in there for us for the Atlantic crossing. So parts for the sat phone and other cabling and other bits and pieces. So fingers crossed it arrives today, so we can get started with all the jobs that need to be done on the boat.
We were going to prepare for the Atlantic crossing in Santa Cruz, but after coming to Las Palmas, the services were so good here that we've returned. But we have so many things to do. We've got to install a sat phone, get a rig check, and a new pin made for our boom, service both of the engines, install a water capture system that I found on YouTube, install a radar reflector halfway up the mast, go through a safety check. Alyssa's going to do most of the provisioning, so she's going to be very busy there. Weather planning and choosing our route. Hope we can accomplish all of this in a week, which I think is achievable in amongst taking Dad out for a sail so he can get to feel the boat.
First item for today is a rigging check. So we've got some guys from the one of the local rigging companies to come and do a check. So they're checking to make sure that everything is working as expected, make sure there's no chafe on any of the ropes, and that everything is functioning properly before we go across the Atlantic.
We had our rigging check today and it all went well, which is good. A little bit of oxidization at the top part of our main stanchions, which I knew anyway because I'd been up there and I had a look. And this pin here is okay. So all good. They're going to make a new pin and we'll put this back in today. We'll file this down and put new washers either side. So happy days.
Today is Chris's birthday. And in all true birthday boating style, he's going to be working all day.
And I'm a bit worse for wear after too much cheap red wine last night.
Yes, we're all a little bit hungover today, but there's lots of exciting tasks to be done. So first off is to properly install the freezer, which is going to be a bit of a mental challenge for Chris and his dad this morning.
Today we're installing the Engel fridge. And I did think that this was going to be a very invasive project, but what we found is that the previous owner had already wired up this Wi-Fi booster, which we don't use. We're using the existing cabling and we've just fed this messenger wire through. So now all we need to do is pull the cabling through. Stop there. We've made a nice little plug fitting. And the moment of truth, we turn it on. Boom! And 23, my lucky number. Yeah.
So what are we doing now, Chris?
We're just pulling things apart, baby. We're servicing the winch So this is one of the many things on our long to-do list. We've got 3 winches. Dad and I were going to do one each, but I think we'll just do the first one together. Okay, so this just comes off now, I think. There we go. So yeah, so we pulled it off. The winch is looking good. We're not putting on any oil onto these bearings, given that they're neoprene and they don't feel as though it's designed for it. Alright, done.
First one done. How's it going with winch number 2?
Alright, there we go, I understand. It's going well. It's good to see all of the small detail of the winches.
You having fun, Terry?
Always. Always. Yesterday we did the full engine service, 1,000-hour engine service on our port engine. So this is just what we're changing today. Water pump belt, V-belt, change these every 1,000 hours they say. And a new impeller, oil filter, fuel filter and a pre-fuel filter. And of course, some oil and some sail drive oil. So we've changed the impeller. We've got the pre-fuel filter off to give me a bit of room. We've just taken the water pump off. Now it's time to loosen the alternator so we can get all the belts off. Well, we're just in the last stages now, draining the oil and changing the oil filter and changed the sail drive oil. I had a bit of problems getting this engine to start back up because I'd forgotten to use a seal in the pre-fuel filter. So, but thankfully it only took us 15 minutes to work out what the problem was. Otherwise, it went a lot smoother than the other engine.
Quick update on how we're progressing for our Atlantic crossing preparation. We managed to tick off a few of the big items from the list. So we've done the rigging check. The guys finished the engine service yesterday. The items that we're looking at today are the provisioning. So we're going to do the first shop, which is very exciting for all our dry goods, and also start on the sat phone install. So that potentially might be a little bit complicated. Hopefully we have the smarts to work it out. The other interesting thing is we've got some strong winds which started this morning. We have 35 knots southerlies forecast for the next 3 days, so that might make some things a little bit difficult on board, but hopefully it won't impact our progress too much.
Alyssa's been dreaming of gin and tonics with ice for quite some time, and we've finally cracked the freezer problem. Took a couple of attempts. Endless ice for our Atlantic crossing. Well, not. It'll be full of meat and other stuff, but
We can dream.
We can drink.
Yesterday I went to the Carrefour and did the first part of our provisioning, which is buying all the dry food. So that was fun. When we got there we realised it was Saturday leading up to Christmas. So it was quite busy in there in the big supermarket. So we got quite a lot of food. We've still got to do the fruit and veggies and also the meats, etc. But well on our way to go.
We're servicing our windlass. A very helpful, I don't know, what do you call it, engine pump that helps us get the anchor up and lower it. Apparently the manual here, which I just had a quick read, said you should do this every year. We're going to follow the manual, pull it apart, grease it, clean it, grease it and put it back together again. We followed the instructions and have realised that the manual is not the right manual for this windlass, so we've inadvertently pulled off the gear housing and oil went everywhere. So now we have to pull the whole thing apart and work out how to get oil back into it and then put it all back together. So it's a bit frustrating.
All we're doing is cleaning this up getting all the old grease off it. You can see like all this old grease here. Right. So, and you can actually feel that. That's dry as a chip. So that's all got to come off. And we clean it up, lubricate it with new grease, put it all back together.
So this is the windlass with a few bits of it off. The important part to see here is this little tooth here. So it'll grab the gears as it spins around, but importantly when there's a lot of tension on, it'll let go of the chain so we don't rip the whole windlass out.
We're about 5 days into our crossing prep and things are slowing down a little bit. We've had a few challenges with a couple of the installs. So the freezer install, which the guys have fixed, which they had to slightly amend, and today they're working on the sat phone installation. The guys are locating the first part of cable in the boat today, so that's been a lot more challenging than expected. Otherwise, we're also trying to work out when we're exactly going to leave. So the weather is not much wind for the next almost week or so currently forecast. Really working through the tasks that we've got left, a few frustrations, a little bit of low spirits right now, but surely we will be getting through and picking up soon.
Our SIM card was finally activated, so we can now go through the last couple of stages of setting up our Iridium Go, which will give us weather forecasts and also help us get out of trouble if we have to abandon ship. So the fun continues. We need to run a cable for the sat phone. Everything on the boat's quite fiddly and you have to pull 1,000 things apart to do what you want. So task number one is to try and get better access to some of the conduit lines and see if we can do what we were hoping to do. We've got the Iridium mounted in here, which was actually not that hard. I've had to move, if you come around, I've had to move these light cables to the side. So that's the back of the antenna cable. This is the coaxial cable that will connect onto there. It did take quite a bit of work, however, to get that coaxial cable to where it needed to go. If you have a look to the left here, you'll see that we've had to remove a wall, remove what was the cleaning cupboard, and the coaxial cable comes from up there down along a conduit. You can see the cable there, it's in between the batteries and the water heater, and then it bends back around. You're not allowed to have more than a 200mm bend on the cable, which makes things very tricky, and the end of the coaxial cable is just underneath the fan there. This is like the final stage of the sat phone prep. Sat phone's up and working, and now we're just trying to discreetly hide our big fat cable here. It's taken, I'd say, a full day and a half to install the sat phone. Great stuff. We're heading out to give Dad a bit of a test sail. He's been on the boat for 11 days now and this is his first time on the water. And there's absolutely no wind at all. 6 knots. Not even worth getting the sails up, I think. So
we're going to clean the boat.
Clean the bottom of the boat. Back in there mid-afternoon. It's like a mankini thing. What are those things? Those suits that people wear, they've got the whole head thing?
The final session of hull cleaning.
Take 5.5 or 5. Day before departure.
So plan is to leave tomorrow. It's going to be a busy day. We've got a couple of key things we need to finish. Firstly, we're going to go do some provisioning, so get the rest of the fresh food and meat. Then we're going to check out, which will be fun. Then we're going to do some more shopping, go to a hardware store, go to a chandlery. Try and do the water capture. Go to a sail maker. And if we're lucky, rebuild the winch, wash the boat, fill up the water tanks, and maybe go out for dinner. So there's not much wind forecast for the next few days, but we're on a bit of a schedule, so we are going to be kicking off anyway, and hopefully we'll find some wind on the way to Cape Verde.
This will be our last video for a while, so there won't be another video until sometime in the new year. So wishing all of our subscribers, family and friends a Merry Christmas and a great New Year, and yeah, you'll see a new episode from us sometime in January. See ya.
Bye!